Some beautiful eyes right there. Okay, we're being recorded now. So let's get started. We are at the two dots on the top of Nun Beis and Aleph. The Hilchos of Aseda Abaye Biyal Kagan. Zog to Gemara. Now we're finally going to find out shot in the Mishnah that cited an interesting story. And the story that the Mishnah cited, the Mishnah on Nun Beis, it says, there were 5 women. Amongst these 5 women were 2 sisters. Someone picked a bundle of figs. It belonged to them. And when we looked at Mishnah, we were puzzled. What's the significance of the fact that it was theirs? And what's the significance of the fact that it was Shviyas? One of these women were a shliach to be makabel the Kiddushin on behalf of all of her friends. The Chacham said the sisters are not mekudashos, and we had a machlokes Abaye and Rava how to understand the Mishnah. Okay, based on that, the Gemara is now going to analyze this case. Omarav, Shmamina mimasnisin arba. There's actually four lemudim that we could extract from the Mishnah, but the nokat Rav v'yodei tlas. Rav, as Rashi says, he only took on 3 of them. Rav spoke about it in his normal lessons, 3 of the 4 Chidushim that he extracted from the Mishnah. The reason why I didn't put it into the normal curriculum in the Gemara is because it wasn't muchzekas biyadai. He wasn't, I guess, 100% sure about it. So let's see what we see from here. Shema mina hamakadesh bepeir shviyas mekudesh. The first chiddush is he took peir shviyas, it was shalahen and it was shal shviyas, and it was bekedushin. It was good for kedushin. This is a mouthful, because if you look at Rashi, why would I think that mekadesh bepeir shviyas would not be mekudeshes? Zokt Rashi, v'lo yamrinon lav mamoina dezoicha behenin. Peir shviyas is not his; it's hefker. It's not his. So if it's not his, how could he be kinda a woman with it? He's not giving her anything if he doesn't have anything. Elakivan dezoicha behen mamoina hulacholdav. When he picks it up to take it, it becomes his moment, and therefore he is able to be mekadesh a woman. That's one reason why this might be a chiddush. Inami, but there's also an additional reason why it might be a chiddush that you could be mekadesh a woman with perishal shviyas, because it's prohibited. It says in the pasuk, "What do you do with perishal shviyas? Lo ochlo, you eat it. V'loy l'schayra. You're not allowed to do business with it. So maybe using it for kedushin is not allowed. Yet it shouldn't be used for anything else. It could be used for kedushin. Tosfos elaborates a little bit on Rashi's pshat, and Tosfos says, "Hamakadosh bepeir shviyas mekudeshes pirish bekuntris." It's the Tosfos, but a first intermediate line. Pirish bekuntris. V'lo yamrin alav mamoynehu lekadosh b'yisei isha kivan deloiba elamitam schiyah. Why? Kivan dezochaboy mamoynehu lecholdav. That's chiddush number 1. Inami yesh lefarish. Even though you're not allowed to use pairs of shviyas to barter with, so that you can acquire some other item by bartering the pair of shviyas, so it's an issue to do. That's only lichatchila. But with the eved, it will be kaim. So Tosfos is saying it's usher, 100% usher, to use pear shviyas for kedushin. Yet it works, because with the eved it works. So therefore, same if you use it to barter for something, it works. So too, if you're mekadosh and isha with it, it'll work. I understand if a woman was makabel kedushin and it was perish shvius, even though it's usher, it works. But here there was a shlichus involved. One of the women was makabel the kedushin on behalf of all the other four. Don't you say that ain't shliach l'dvar? Don't you say that she can't be a shliach, and therefore how is the kedushin good for the other women? So this kasha is asked by the Noid of Yehuda. It's discussed by the Sefer HaMakna, who is their flaw, and they have different approaches. One said, a huge chiddush, that maybe the whole isser of la'achla v'lo l'schayra is you're not allowed to do anything, you're not allowed to buy something with it, you're only allowed to eat it. Who's violating that isser? Not the women who are receiving it, because they're also going to eat it. It's the man who's giving it. So could be the whole isser of la'achla v'lo l'schayra only applies to the buyer, to the one who's using, who's bartering away the perishable shvius. But the one who's receiving it, the moicher, he is not over the la'achla v'lo l'schayra. So kum t'chois, there's no isser involved. But the other one said, how you talking? If it's an aver, it's an aver for everybody. So he says a different, very interesting svar. The halacha is, yesh shliach l'dvar aver for certain specific inyonim. For instance, we learned that when it comes to tfichu mechira, if I steal something and then I make a shliach to shecht it for me, yesh shliach l'dvar aver, I, as the Ganav, who is Mamana the Shliach, to make the Tficha, will be Mechuyev in the Alveh. Well, what if I told the guy, I told my Shliach, shecht it for me on Shabbos? So the Gabi Shabbos is in Shliach V'Arver. So do you say that in Shliach V'Arver? So the halach is, I believe, that if someone was Mamana a Shliach B'Davke to make the Tficha on Shabbos, there in Shliach V'Arver, because the Maisa of the Tficha can't be for him. So could be these women, now that's if he's a man to do on Shabbos. But what if I told the guy, shecht it for me, and the guy on his own shechted it on Shabbos? That's a whole different story. The shechita on Shabbos was not part of my instruction. I just told you to shecht it. Putin over here, they told this woman to be Makabel Kiddushin. They never said to be Makabel Kiddushin for Perish Shvius. They just told her to be Makabel Kiddushin. That she was Makabel Perish Shvius was her own thing, and therefore the concept of Shlichut Varvera wouldn't be relevant over here. Okay, so that takes care of the first chiddush that we extracted from our Mishnah, and that is you could be Mekadosh with Perish Shvius. What about the second halach? Ushmamina kitcha begezel and mikudeshes. You also see that if you Mekadosh a woman with gezel, it wouldn't be mikudeshes. And not only if he stole from a third party and gave it to the woman, but afilu begezel dita, even if he stole from her and gave it to her for Kiddushin. Why would you think that would be better if he stole from her and gave it back to her? Well, the answer is Dr. Rashi, and the Gemara will say later, that if she accepted the Kiddushin and she didn't throw it back in his face and say, what are you crazy? You're giving me my thing? If she accepted the Kiddushin, she was Michael. And she was Michael and therefore she's the Keli. Or Miyayish. Okay. Therefore, it's not Mekudeshes. How do you see that from our Mishnah? It says that the Te'enim that this Mekadesh took were theirs. And it wouldn't have been a good Kiddushin unless the Mishnah added that the Shal Shviyas is. Haima, the Shviyas, the Hefker. The only reason why it worked as a Kiddushin, even though it was theirs, is because it was Hefker at the time, because it was from Shemitah. If it was in the other years of the Shemitah cycle, loy, it would not have been a good Kiddushin. This is also an interesting shaila that comes up with this. Obviously, this is speaking that a woman owned a field, and the Gemara is clearly saying if a woman owns a field, her payers also become hefker on Shvius. So the first question is, how do payers of Shemitah become hefker? are they automatically hefker, or is the chiyuv on the owner to be mafker them? Assuming it's a chiyuv on the owner to be mafker them, because this is a shaila in the Rishonim, is it not a mitzvah sasei shasman grama? So why would women be mechuyev? So maybe the field of a woman would not be mechuyev shmita. So for that, the Rishonim, some of the Rishonim tell us that it wouldn't be considered a mitzvah sasei shasman grama, because the pairs of shviyas are also forever. The zman is what identifies what pairs we're talking about. But the zman doesn't make the isser. They'll be also even the next year. Pairs of shviyas remain also forever. So it could be it's not a mitzvah shazman grama, therefore women are mechliv. Others learn that no, maybe it would be a mitzvah shazman grama, but there is no mitzvah for a person to be mafker his own pairs on shmita. They automatically, the Torah is mafker them. And therefore, it's not an issue of a woman's field, because even the field owned by women is all the halachas of shmita. So that is the second halacha that we did. So the first halacha is mekadosh per shviyas. The second one is gezel. The third is ushmamina isha nasa shliach lechavita. Va'afilu b'mokim shenasas lotzara. We know that if a woman comes along and says, "Your husband died," so Rivka comes along and tells Rachel, "Your husband died," we are matter in aguna with the edus of an isha. The exception to that rule is if this woman is her tzara, because she wants to mess up the relationship that her tzara has with her husband. So even though this woman is not nemenes normally, but to do a shlichus for her, because while she's being mekabel her own kedushin, she's also being mekabel kedushin of 4 tzaras. If there's 5 women here in the bunch, it works because it's a shlichus. You've done a shlichus. If you've done a shlichus, it works. Just because you're not nemenes on the edus for your tzara, if you teach, if you're mekabel kedushin for her, that would. So that's so far 3 limudim. Ve'idich mai, what's the 4th limud that Rav didn't put in his curriculum? Kiddushin she'ein mesurin l'piyah. We see from our Mishnah a halacha regarding Kiddushin she'ein mesurin l'piyah. If you remember, we had 2 mahalchin and how to learn our Mishnah. We learned our Mishnah according to Abaye, and we had a pshat in our Mishnah according to Rava. It was just at the top of Nun Aleph Amud Beis. Now Rashi actually learns that you see from our Mishnah B'davka, like Rava, that Kiddushin Shein Mitzvah is not a good Kiddushin. But the Chayim Armazbe really you see both ways. So Frekim of a Nechshava. So why didn't Rav put that as part of his curriculum? So tomorrow Mishum the Besafkala Ikebai Kirava. He didn't know. Do we learn the Mishnah like Abaye? And it's a Haraya that Kiddushin Shein Mitzvah is a good Kiddushin? Or we should learn the Mishnah like Rava and say it's not a good Kiddushin. Since he didn't have clear what the halacha was, he didn't put this as part of his curriculum. He only focused on the other 3 limud, which is can't be mekadosh gezel, you could be mekadosh shmita, and a woman could be nasa shlich l'chaverta even when she's becoming her tzar. Kisalek Rab Zeira, when Rab Zeira went up there to Yisrael, Amr lo hashmaitza kamed Rabbi Yochanan. He told over this halacha in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Rashi specifically called the kamrina il kitcha begezel ein mukudeshes. So he said over to Rabbi Yochanan that kitcha begezel is not a good kedusha. Amr lei, Rabbi Yochanan said, Mi Amar Rav Hachi, did Rav say this? Now that sounds like Rabbi Yochanan argues. Did Rav dare say such a thing? Frank the Gemara, why would Rabbi Yochanan have a problem with Rav having said such a thing? V'huloi Amar, Rabbi Yochanan himself said the same thing, that you cannot be mekadosh begezel. V'Amar Rabbi Yochanan, if you steal something, and the Bible were not miyayish, meaning it's not yours yet, neither of the Gazlin or the Nigzel can be makdish this chayfetz because neither of them have enough of an ownership stake in this chayfetz. The Gazlin cannot be makdish because it's not his. And the Nigzel cannot be makdish because it's not in his rishus, it's not in his control. That's required to be makdish. So if you can't be makdish, you cannot make kiddushin with it either. So Rabbi Yochanan agrees to Rav. So why was he so surprised that Rav actually say this? He was excited. Mi Amar Rav Kavazi, wow, Did Rav agree with me? He was excited that Rav agreed with him that you could not be mekadosh an isha with gezel. Fragt the Gemara Meisvei, kitcha begezel. He was excited that someone agreed with him. Maybe he needs to give him a hard time. So when he finally found someone to agree with him, he was happy. Meisvei, kitcha begezel, b'chamas u'begeneva. If someone was mekadosh with gezel or chamas is you grab it but you pay for it. Begeneva is where the owner doesn't know who did it. Or he grabbed a seller from the hand of a woman, the kitcha, and he was mekadesher with that aricha. Mikudeshes, she'll be mikudeshes. So you have a raya from here that you could be mekadesh with gezel, and for the Gemara, that rice is not a raya. Hasam begezel dida. That's speaking where you took it from herself, and you have the svara of since she was mekabel as a Kiddushin, and she didn't say, "Are you crazy? This is mine." Therefore, she's moichel. Zot Gemara, Hasam begezel dida. Zot Gemara, okay, that's the last case of chot avsela. But what about the other cases? I mean, the Katani say the Oisha chot avsela mishalah michlal. Doesn't that indicate the ratio begezel the all maskina that the earlier cases is when he stole it from a third party? So how could he make Kiddushin with it? We learned that he can't even make hektik. Dr. Mar Perusha Kamafar. The Seifa is merely explaining the ratio. Kitcha begezel b'chamusu b'geneva. Ketzad, how did he do this? So all of the cases in the Brisa are speaking where he stole it from her. Now, this doesn't take us completely out of the dark, because our Mishnah, we prove that even if he stole it from her, it won't be a good Kiddushin. Yet over here, it's saying if he stole it from her, it would be a good Kiddushin. So turning on to Amabeis, Vamas Nisin, our Mishnah, the Gezel Dida, it was Gezel that he took from her, the Ka'amar Rav, and Rav brought a raya from our Mishnah that ain't a Mukudeshes. So it's fighter a steer. Even if you're stealing it from her herself, how could you tell me that the fact that she accepted shows that she's moichel and therefore it's good Kiddushin? Rav extracted from our Mishnah that it was only Mukudeshes because it was Perishal Shemitah. But otherwise, if he took hers and was Mekadesh with hers, it would not be a good Kiddushin. Gemara, loy kasha, if they were talking about getting married, imagine they're discussing getting married and they're planning to get married. And he tells her, I can't wait anymore. And he just grabbed something that he saw that was hers and said, I read it. So there, she knows that she's not really stealing from her. He's just trying, he can't hold back. He wants to be Mekadosh already. But if you just grab something from a woman on the street and walk up there and try to be Mekadosh with it, of course that doesn't work. And that's consistent with our Mishnah. So our Mishnah must be speaking with a loy shadach, and that's why everybody agrees that if you're Mekadosh with Gezel, even if you stole it from her, it's not a good Kiddushin. Sure.
She didn't want it. That doesn't belong to her. Not even go give it to someone. Doesn't just have to accept it.
No, but she could say in Shakli, Vididi Shakli. Sure, I took it. I wanted my thing back that you stole from me. But I had no intention of being Mekadosh myself.
Right. I'm saying, if she didn't even agree to it, she never had to even accept it in the first place.
No, but she has a right to accept it because it's hers. No, you can't say for the fact that she accepted it and she didn't say anything, it must be she's agreeable to the Kiddushin. She took it because it's hers. She was washing her legs in a basin of water. Someone came, he was smitten by this woman, and he grabbed a zuz from his friend, so he stole money. He showed the law, and he gave it to this woman who was washing her legs in the water. And the Omer told her, Mikdash Tali, I read Mukadeshli with this zuz. And now he wanted to know if his marriage is valid. And often we use the word ahu gavra in the Gemara where we're talking about someone who did something that was less than desirable. This guy stole money to be mekadosh a woman in the shuk who he met with her legs being washed. How do we know it was in the shuk? We'll see in a minute. Zakti Gemara also gavra the kamei Rava. So Rava had the pasuk, this is a good conclusion. Omar, he said, lest the chosh lahader of Shimon. This was a gzela because it was chotif zuzim mechaver. Rab Shimon says Stam Gzela Yush Bailam. So Machlokes, if it's Stam Gzela Yush Bailam, because you see this tough guy grabbed it away from you, you're not going to be able to get it back. But there are those who say Stam Geneva Yush Bailam, because I don't know who to get it from. I don't know who to collect from. Gzela, at least I know who the perpetrator is. But Rab Shimon knows Stam Gzela Yush Bailam. So if you said that, then it was his money, and therefore he can be Mekadosh with. Zogt Rava, we don't hold like Rab Shimon. It was never his money. It's not Mikudeshes. So the Rishonim discuss why was it relevant that this woman was washing her legs? Who cares what she was doing? So there's different svaras that the Rishonim discuss. One svara could be she wasn't even masking to the Kiddushin at all because she was distracted. She was busy washing her legs. You're coming up to the middle of washing her legs, so could be she wasn't masking to the Kiddushin because she doesn't want to be married to some guy who's a crook. Others learn the fact that she was washing her legs shows that she was out in public. She wasn't in her house, which means she likely saw this. So you might say that since she saw it, she rejects him automatically. The Gemara says the reason why it's not a good Kiddushin is because the cast of Kiddushin didn't belong to him. So there are discussions in the Rishonim why it's important for the Gemara to tell us what she was doing during this Kiddushin. Hahu Arisa. So an Aris is someone who works someone else's field, and he gets to keep part of the produce, and the owner keeps part of the produce. But they had not yet separated the Aris's portion from the portion that belonged to the Balabais. And he just took the Kaddish B'muza the Shamchi. He took a handful of onions, and he was Mekadosh a woman with onions. Also the Kamei de Rava. And now he wanted to know if its Kiddushin is a good Kiddushin. So Rava asked him, who was makna to you? There are those who changed the Gersa. Who was makna to you? Who gave it to you? Did you make this halukah with your balabash yet? You just grabbed. You have the right to take it, and therefore it's not a good Kiddushin. But the Hanamili B'muz, that if you grabbed a bundle of onions, you grabbed some onions, a handful of onions, where it would not have been accounted for when you actually separate your share from the share of the owner. Aval Kisha. But if it was a proper bundle, and normally that's how the sharecropper separates his share from the owner's share, is he makes a whole bunch of bundles of onions. And then they decide how many bundles I get. Let's say it was a third. He'll take a third of the bundles, and the balabas will take 2/3 of the bundles. There we'll say the bundle that he took belongs to him. Because Motzi Amarle, he can tell balabas, okay, I took a bundle, but I know I took a full bundle. Therefore, Anar Shakli Kisha, Shakalat Kisha. So you'll take one extra bundle when we split up. Kisha Kikisha. If I just took a handful of onions, so I haven't measured what I've taken, and it's going to end up not being accounted. But if I take a full bundle, I know I'm going to be paying it back, and he's going to get a bundle connected by it. There was another sharecropper, but he didn't do sharecropping by planting fields and planting onions. Rather, he was a beer maker, and he would go to Balabatim who own dates, and he would take their raw material, make it into beer, and then they would split the beer in a certain ratio where the laborer got one share and the owner got the other share. It's like a sharecropper. It's like a venture capitalist. It was the Gemara's version of venture capitalist. The person who owned the dates, he had the capital, and the entrepreneur is the guy who makes the beer, and that's how they did business. So Husar say the Kaddish the Pruma de Shichra. He took the soilus, the pieces of date after he already extracted all of the beer out of it. Now it's just empty shards, shells and peels and who knows what. Soilus, that's what he used for Kiddushin. Also Marei de Shichra. And the owner came along because this is really the owner's product. Ashkechet, and he saw that his sharecropper used his property to be Mekadosh a woman with. How did he react? Amalei said, why did you give her this garbage? Amalei Tesef Mahai Charifa. You should have given her better pieces. So that seems to indicate that he didn't have a problem with it. So also the Kamei de Rava, they came to Rava to ask Rava, is it a good Kiddushin? Amr Loi, he told him, Omar, he said, there is such a concept that you find in halacha that if the balabah said, "Oh, you should have given better," that's a raya that he was happy with it. But that concept is discussed by Truma. It would not apply to this case, and I'll show you why. Zokra. The Tanya we learned. Sometimes if Reuben is mafresh, Trumas on behalf of his friend Shimon. So Shimon has a huge pile of tevel, and Reuben decides he's going to do Shimon a favor. He's going to go in and be mafresh Trumas. It could work. It could work in specific cases, and the Brisa tells us how. Someone went into his cover's field. Velikate, he picked produce, and then v'taram shaloi b'rishus, and he separated truma without rishus. If there's a gzela problem, meaning the balabayis is not happy with what occurred, then ain't truma true. Then his truma has no impact. But v'imlav, if the balabayis is happy with what he did, then truma true. How could we know what the balabayis is thinking? So tomorrow I'll tell you. The balabayis comes back and he discovers what happened, that his friend came and separated truma for him. Haresha bo balabayis umatzai, and he found what happened. V'amarloi, and he told his friend, "Oh, you were mafresh trumas from my shvachas schleira. Kalach etzel yafois. You should have given the kohen better schleira, my higher grade payers. Even him to yafis mahem. If in fact he had higher grade payers, then you'll say his comment was sincere and he was happy with the truma, and therefore truma said truma. But v'imlav, if he didn't have any better, in other words, this person who did it on the zone took the best of what the balabayis had, and the balabayis is telling him, why don't you take better? Clearly, it's a sarcastic remark. Couldn't find better. You took my best stuff, right? So if that's the case, then ain't truma said true. But what happens? What happened if hayuabayim malaktim ma'isifit? What if the Baal actually took some of his own produce and added it to the pile of truma? That's a clear indication that he's very happy with what the shliach did, even if he didn't have any nicer stuff when he said kalach etzul yafos. That proves that he was sincere and he wasn't being sarcastic. Therefore, benkach u benkach truma truma. So by truma, you have this concept that when he said kalach etzul yafos, that's a litmus test to determine if he was serious or if he was sarcastic. But here, no matter what, even though the balabayis told the sharecropper you could have used nicer produce to be mekadosh to Isha with, there for sure he doesn't mean it sincerely. He's not happy at all. What should he do? He should humiliate his employee in front of his kala. He doesn't want to do that. So therefore he's nice and he says, oh, you could have given better. But Avada deep down inside is not zufrieden, and therefore it would not be a good. Beautiful. Now we're getting into a whole new sugya, the sugya of kachim and meal. Hamakadosh bechelka. What does bechelka mean? Zot Rashi shecholakim echav hakayan. So we have a kohen who received who received meat from his chelik of kuna, from doing his avodah, and he used that to be mekadosh a woman with it. So, what's halacha? I'm sorry? That's right. You would have to eat it right away. That's right. Ben kachim, where she has 2 days and 1 night to eat it, if it was a shlomim. Ben kachim, where she only has the 1 day that day to eat it, and the night following.
Problem is,
Ben kachim kalam ain't mukada.
Arisa could eat. Arisa can't eat it. No,
They're not really married.
Well, who said?
they are really married.
I mean,
It's not. They're not fully married. Shalucha, but maybe she's going to give. She can't eat. I don't know about kuchin, but trimmer is excited that she.
So, I hear. It must be. Maybe it's speaking by something that she's allowed to eat. So there are certain kachim that are not only eaten l'zechekun. Maybe his chelik of the shlomim. So maybe that's what I'm talking about. Maybe he's talking about the only thing that she could have eaten.
And she can't because Amaris can't eat. Weiß ich, wenn Kutsch bei Trimme, because
That's true, but we're talking about kosher. Maybe she could eat. I hear.
Maybe Kutsch is more.
I hear. So Animal Kadesh, so it's not considered her money. The Meiser Sheni, if it was Meiser Sheni, they made it like Kiddush. That's for sure not his money.
So it's not her money.
It's not his money, that's right. Okay. Divi Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda Aimer, B'shoigig like Kiddush, b'mezid Kiddush. And this is going to be told in Hilchos Meila. This is why the Gemara is going to go through this. Uva Hektish, and by Hektish, b'mezid Kiddush, b'shoigig like Kiddush, Divi Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda Aimer, B'shoigig Kiddush, b'mezid like Kiddush. The Gemara is going to explain the details. But Tosfos right away brings up an important question. In fact, Tosfos, why not? The whole reason why it's not Mekudeshes is because it wasn't his money. It's kosher, it belongs to the Ibishna. So he's giving her someone else's stuff, although he might have been allowed to. In fact, Tosfos, why wouldn't it be Mekudeshes? Who said it has to be his money? I read Mekudeshly. Now I'm going to do you a favor. What am I going to do? I'm going to speak good on behalf of you to a potential employee. She should get a good job. So there, I didn't give her anything. She benefited, but it's still Mekudeshes. The Mekudeshes. So here too, I had a right to this meat. It's not mine, but the fact that I let you have it, why isn't that something that I can be Mekalish with? Technically, I can charge somebody to speak good on their behalf to give them a good reference. So there's cash value here. It's as if he gave her that cash value when he does that. He has no right to anything. He could have never taken any money for them. Therefore, even though he's being made of her, it's not a good Kiddushin. So let me ask you a question. Kiddushin is a din in what she receives, or is it a din in what he gives? Let me ask you a question. Can you be Mekalish with Yisura and all? About not. It's not yours. What if there's a woman who's a Chayla Sheish by Sakana, and she's allowed to eat Yisura and all? Could you be Mekalish with Yisura and all?
The Mishala is if it's mitzvah or
it's mitzvah for her to eat it 100%. She's allowed to eat Yisura and all if she's a Chayla Sheish by Sakana.
It's mitte or nitchen. So this is out there.
It doesn't make a difference. Regardless, she's allowed to eat. But I didn't give her anything because mitzad me it was worthless. It's also not to me. So it's a little bit this shaila over here. But clearly, our Gemara is saying is that if he doesn't have any moments here and he's not delivering her anything that he could charge for, it would not be mekudesh. Zok the Gemara, name of Masnisen, the Loik Rabbi Yosy Aglili. It seems like this Mishnah does not stem with Rabbi Yosy Aglili. The Tanya, Rabbi Yosy Aglili told us in a Praisa, Umala Mal Bashem, there's a halacha that if you steal from somebody and he moans you and you deny it and you make a shvuah, you have to bring a carbon Asham Me'ilos. Asham Gezelos. You have to bring an Asham Gezelos. What if he moans you that you took his Kodeshim Kala meat and you swore that you didn't take his Kodeshim Kala meat? Would you be mechuyev a Asham Gezelos? Umalamah b'Shem l'Rabbish Kodeshim Kalam shein mamayno divrei Rabbi Yosy Aglili. According to Rabbi Yosy Aglili, Kodeshim Kalam that you have is considered yours, and therefore, if there's a question of someone who swore falsely about taking it or not taking it, they'll be mechuyev in Asham Gezelos. So you see, it does belong to him. So if it does belong to him, then you should be able to be mekadosh with him. Well, tomorrow, afilu temi Rabbi Yosy Aglili. Our Mishnah could even stem with Rabbi Yosy Aglili. He go over Rabbi Yosy Aglili mechayim. You know when Rabbi Yosy Aglili said that Kodeshim Kalam in his mom and bailim, that's while the animal is still alive before it's meat. Want to check it, and the question is eating the meat. Look, that does not belong to the bailim anymore. My time when you're eating kachim, it's the Rebbeinu Shalom's meat, and you're a guest of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Dekanami, I'll prove it to you from the Mishnah itself. The Katani Hamakalish Bechel Koi, Ben Kadosh Kachim, Ben Kachim Kalam, Lo Kiddush, Shemamina. So obviously, Chalkoi Rashi says, La'achar Shecholku. After it was what he split with the Mizbech got its chelak, the Kohen got its chelak, V'lekatani HaMekadosh B'Kochim Kala. It's B'Chalkoi, so you see it's speaking about after it's meat, and there even Rabbi Yosy clearly holds that you don't say Mishulchan Gavaya Kazachi. I'm sorry, you don't say Kadashim Kalam and Bailam, there it's Mishulchan Gavaya Kazachi.
This food will be forget. Once he got it already, it's his. No, he's a guest.
Yeah, very good. The more you think it's yours, the more it's also missing sister Irish. Tanu Rabbanan. La'akar Piti Rasa Shor Meir. After Reb Meir died, so people wanted to come to Rabbi Yehuda's yeshiva. People who were Talmidim of Reb Meir wanted to come to Rabbi Yehuda's yeshiva. Rabbi Yehuda said, I'm not accepting any bachim from Reb Meir's yeshiva. Amalam Rabbi Yehuda, the Talmidim, al yikontu Talmidei Reb Meir Lakan. Do not allow in any Talmidim from Reb Meir into my yeshiva. Why? Because they can't run him. They're not really interested in learning. They just want to attack me with their kashas that they might have that they know for Meir. They're briskers. They're looking to attack. I don't want any briskers by me. If you're looking to brisk, don't come to me. They're not coming to learn. They're looking to hack. They're coming to be makapeach mi ba'alachos. What does lekapeach mean? Dr. Raji lekapeach hashukov. Hack. To hack him up. Lekatetz raglenu, to cut our legs off. Ba'alachos with halachos. Loidia shem charifit. They're going to want to show ich can better learn it for there. They're going to hack. There's a famous story about a brisker who went up to Shemaim Lachameh Veshem. Their boys don't want to have a hair. He said, "Nu zuga shtickle toida." So the brisker 9 I said, "These zuga shtickle toida." He held the upray. So Dochak Sumchus wanted to get in, even though even though he was a Talmud, of Reb Meir, v'nichnas, and he pushed his way in, and he asked Rabbi Yehuda the following mission. He told him, Kach Shana Li Reb Meir. This is what Reb Meir taught me. Hamakalish b'chalgoi, ben kachim kachim, ben kachim kalim, loy kidesh. So we quoted from Reb Meir this Mishnah, the Mishnah that we just learned. Kos Reb Yehuda aleim. Reb Yehuda got angry at Talmidim. Why did you let him in? Why did you let him sumchus? Amalem loy kach amarti lachem. Did I not tell you? Al yikonsu mitalmidei Reb Meir lakan mipnei shekanta ronim hein v'loy limud Torah in boim. Did I not tell you? Must I repeat it again? Because you obviously didn't hear if you let Sumchas in. And this Mishnah that he's asking me is Tamka Hakka China. Because this meat, Kachim, is eaten in the Azara only. Is there an Isha in the Azara? How is it possible? So Mishnah doesn't make sense. So you're obviously trying to hack me a cup of that. Zokt Rashi, what does it mean? Isha Ba'azara Minayin? The katani kachim. But if I write im yotzim chutz lazara, I feel there's a snatchim in him someone b'yotze. So how is it negate that he's mekadosh a woman that can't even be a woman there? A woman is not allowed to go in to the Ezra Yisrael. It's not bothers at Thomas Perkama the Mesechus Kalim that the Ezra Yisrael that the Noshim listing off the different madrigas of kedusha of the different areas. So the madriga of the Ezra Yisrael is that Nothing don't go inside. Okay, very good, very good. I would hope, yeah. But Tosfos argues. Zok Tosfos v'chiisha b'azor minay pirsha kudris. Then isha nechnesnes b'azor k'nitnam per kamat keilo. V'loy dok. Rashi was not medayik. V'loy ashkron b'shom duchta. You never find anywhere the noshim masurais likanis lazar. Sharei b'per kamat keilo t'nam. In the first parak of Kelim we learned, Hachel Mekudesh Emenu, the Chel is more Kurdish than Harabayis. She'ein Tamameis Nichnas L'Sham. A Tamameis cannot go in there. L'mayla Emenu, above it is Ezra Yisrael, She'ein Mechutz Kippurim Nichnas L'Sham. And the Chayavan L'Chafis. L'mayna Emenu Ezra Kahanim, She'ein Yisraelim Nichnas L'Sham El B'Shas Tzarcheim, Smicha, Shchita, Tnufa. V'loikadoni doesn't say anywhere, Noshim, She'ein Nichnas L'Sham. So I don't know why Rashi says they can't go in. So you see, she can go into the shchita. Inami yechayil lekanis bazara. Imkain, you have a raya that yechayil lekanis bazara. V'odar esaita unazira nichnas es bazara lahanif to do the knuva. Kach nearly the Gemara's kasha or Rabbi Yehuda's kasha was v'chiisha bazara lehiskadesh minayin. What's she doing there? It's it's not typical that she would ever be in the Azara just to be Mekabel Kiddushin. Sherry Bizainu doesn't pass. She should go into the base of Mikdash to be Mekabel Kiddushin. And therefore, the Tana is not going to discuss a weird case like that where a woman is in the Azara. So let's see what happened. Amar Rabbi Yosy said, Yomru Meir Shacha. Rabbi Meir was nifter. Yehuda was angry, and he doesn't want to behandle this Mishnah. And Yosy Shazar. And Rabbi Yosy shouldn't help when he might have a pshat to help understand the Mishnah. Divrei Torah Matayala Vietnam land. He asked, why is it so difficult for you to understand that there would be a woman in the Azara? First of all, is that the only way this could have happened? What if it's the father of a Ketana? Maybe he was Mekabel Kiddushin. Maybe that's the Kiddushin we're talking about. Or another thing, maybe she made a shliach.
Es macht mehr Sinn von einer Tate, weil eine Tate kennt es ja erstens, nicht jeder Kram.
What if she is not supposed to do it? Yes, it's not a shkich gezach. Why shouldn't we discuss that child? Would it work? So that is the end of this story. Okay, let's stop here, and we'll be mamshich tomorrow. What? No, that's Pshat of the Mishnah. Forget it. That's why the Mishnah discusses it, because it's possible it did happen. Rabbi Yehuda asked the kasha. This Mishnah makes no sense. If he's Mekadesher with kasha. This gets into the whole Nusugi. I think we have to stop here. Anyway, I have to take care of stuff before Shachris, so we'll stop here. Beshem will be mamshich tomorrow. Beautiful Gemaras.
What time is the Shir?
Which year?